Yeah, so hello and welcome. What we would like to present today is this second edition of our MPAI GME, which means Governance of the MPAI Ecosystem Standard, which is one of the foundational standards. Just to be clear, so there are some standards that MPI produces which are about applications, but this is about how the MPI ecosystem is organized, and there are other standards, for instance, AAF, which is about how to write out the standards. So both this one, which is MPI GME, and MPI AIF are kind of foundational standards, meta standards, if you want to call them like this. So Leonardo, if you could please, thank you. So as said, GME, which has this kind of special role, um, essentially describes how MPI and other entities which collectively make up the MPI ecosystem work together, and what their roles are, and who exactly they are, and how everything operates all together, right? Next slide, please. Right. So, and yeah, right. And the AF, which is the other, say, main foundational standard, specifies, on the other hand, again, how one can write standards that are application specific. So what is the overall architecture of MPI standards, technical architecture in this case? What are the communication protocols? How you split a workflow into AI modules, and how they are supposed to communicate together, right? So all this, again, is underpinned by this workflow model that essentially allows us to break down this kind of black box monolith that most of those applications, AI applications are, right? So you usually have a big network that does everything, while in this case, it's possible to break this down into constituent blocks for which specify how they communicate and how they should be executed. Yeah, this is one of the core things about AAF, which is this kind of conceptual scheme. So basically, you have an AI workflow, which is an application which is split into AI modules that communicate through an API with a controller execute, so like a hypervisor or something like that, executing them, which provides services, communication, but also other things, the possibility to download binaries or other code, storage, encryption, and attestation. So those are all things that are offered through this API, which is specified in AAF. And AF also specifies how to describe the topology of each application, so how those modules are connected and how they communicate, which kind of data they are supposed to exchange, and what their function is, right? Right. So among other things explained in GME, there is the standard development process, so which includes the following stages. So first of all, I mean, this is pretty much reminiscent of, I think, MPEG, right? But so you develop use cases and functional requirements. Then there should be some kind of technical specification, and something which is not, which is unlike ISO, right? You have also some framework license that specifies in advance how the standard will work with respect to IP. And also there is then a publication of a call for technologies, and technical specifications are developed, and then finally they're approved and published once the time is right. And yeah, right. And also they get assigned this 3-letter name, which yeah, is an acronym, and you have seen already with GME and the AF and so on. Right, so so we are kind of picky, right, about what is called the standard. So and in particular, all things that are claiming to be conformant to a standard, so implementations that claim conformance, have to basically have quite a few characteristics. So in particular, NAAW, which is the overall workflow, should well just have a function as specified in the standard, right? In its standard, then it should also use AAMs in the way which is specified by this workflow language that I was mentioning before. So connections and the way they exchange data should be defined precisely through, again, this language which is provided by AIF. And yeah, also this language specifies how they exchange data and which format this data exchange happens with. And that's for overall workflows, but overall workflows are made of submodules, right? And each module also has a function, and also can have a substructure, right? So everything is recursive, and actually a workflow is a module itself. So the idea is that just by doing this with language provided by MPAI AAF, you can just define complete applications and workflows that are made by interconnected modules with any level of depth, right? So there could be some modules of some modules and so on. Next one, please. Right. So yeah. So the thing is, this is so there are there's some procedure about how so when a standard is published. So essentially, so a draft should be published on the website, on the MPAI website for comment. And okay, there are other details in particular. So it would be nice if every standard had some reference software, which essentially is a test implementation, which is provided not to be particularly performant, but just to show other people how an implementation should be done. And also some conformance testing and even performance assessment, where conformance testing just tests that the implementation is technically sound and, let's say, it abides by all these technical rules dictated by AAF, while performance assessment evaluates the quality, say, in the sense of the implementation, right? Those parts can be there, or so some of them can not be there actually, but ideally a mature and complete standard would have those parts. And finally, yeah, so as decided during previous discussion, there will be also part which consists in collecting patent declarations submitted by members stating that they own some IP on a part of the standard or this kind of thing. Right, so going back to the reference software, we said this is about mostly illustrating how software should be developed. In particular, yeah, so this should show the functionality which is specified in the corresponding technical specification. And also, yeah, when it is provided with input which is conformant to again the data format specified in the standard, it should produce some output which also has a format conformant with a standard. And of course, software can be made available in several forms. So ideally, it would be source code, right? But it could be compiled code if there is some kind of IP issue. And yeah, so essentially, also it could be either some code that implements the functionality from the start, so all the functionality, or it could be some wrapper that actually uses some other component already developed by someone else and wraps it around, but defining precisely what inputs and outputs should be, right? So basically making an external application into a module with defined input outputs and communication parameters. So yeah, there should be some disclaimers attached to this reference software implementation, which again are specified clearly again by GME. So particular disclaimers that say that, of course, this is not a professional implementation. So yeah, all these kind of things that usually come, and also yeah, it could be that some of this software is under some license, some copyright, and in that case, that should be clearly stated, and one should make clear that by using software, one has to make sure that they have rights to use it, right? Then, right. So, right. Yeah, there are more things, right? So yeah, if software is compiled, may not used in commercial products, and okay, so you should also kind of use some sample input and output data. I mean, these are things that go with these kind of things, right? Or access to sufficient documentation if documentation is required. And this is just again just an example. So there is no quality requirements attached necessarily to it. This comes under a separate section. Right. On the other hand, performance is something that is kind of different, right? It's not just about technical compliance of the module or the workflow with the standard, the standard it is defined in, but it's also about something more. So about, again, kind of quality, if you would like to call it like this, although Leonardo probably wouldn't like me to call it like this. But so performance assessment is in general checked for each module by performance assessors, which are again part of the MPAI ecosystem, and have this kind of charge with this task of checking whether those modules work as expected, and again with a sufficient level of performance. And so those performance assessment specifications essentially provide methods and procedures to measure, yeah, as it is written, how well an AWRAM performs its function. So that's a good definition. So and performance can be about quite a few things, right? Next slide, please. Yes. So those are like 6 different things that describes slightly different aspects of overall performance, quality performance. So we have tried to describe them in a way which is easy to understand. We might have failed perhaps with lab labeling, so the naming of the things, but so they are quality. Quality is yeah, we have this example, which is perhaps a good illustration. So how well, for instance, if you have a face identity recognition, how well those faces are recognized, that would be basically quality, right? Then there will be robustness, which is kind of robustness with respect to scaling or long operations. So it's how solid, in a sense, the implementation is with respect to being operated for a long time or on a lot of input data. Then there is extensibility, which is about the training set. So if a module is given input which is not present in the training set, how well this operates, right? Of course, I mean, there will be some, so it depends very much on the application. These kind of things are very complicated to evaluate, but ideally, again, a well-defined standard would also say something about this part, which is very important because it's is something that, of course, happens all the time. Right, then there will be bias, which is what you might think it is. So, of course, depending again on the choice of the training set, it might be that the module operates better or worse, or with, again, so producing different results depending on some features of the input, right? So of some subset of the input. So for instance, you could have that if there is software which predicts company performance, the accuracy might change depending on where the company is based, because training set is not equally detailed or equally good for all countries in the world, and that will bias. Then, okay, we have some legal part, which is compliance with legal. So, for instance, I know the AI Act in Europe, or other regulations that are country specific. So there could be a list of compliance with those regulations. And finally, so ethics, which is also kind of a statement of compliance with respect to some ethical standards that are more and more widespread now in the field, right? So there are some statements and declarations. Right. So essentially, how would one describe these requirements for performance assessment specification? So what is it that a performance assessor needs to do to assess those 6 points, or some of them? So the document should give a recipe to do this, right? So there should be first a list of one of those points out of 6 or more, even other ones is the object of this part. And then there should be some kind of set of procedures and tools, data sets that are provided and that performance assessor has to use to assess each different aspect of performance, right? And so that's essentially it, with some more details. For instance, performance assessor should just give some information in return to the implementer, and that's also specified by those requirements. Right. So now so that was mostly about standards. So it was part that regulates how a standard should be made and specified in writing, let's say, and in software. Now a little bit more about the MPAI ecosystem itself. So which is also part of the GME standard. So there are 3 parts in the specification, so of the ecosystem. The first one, of course, is list of players who make it, and also how the ecosystem works is a second big part. And finally, which data is used and how it is exchanged when the ecosystem operates. Right, so who are the ecosystem players? So MPAI, of course, itself, the standardization consortium, is the main player. It does several things. It acts as the root of trust of the whole ecosystem. It defines the rules. It develops standards themselves. It assigns so that's interesting for us. So essentially, there are some specific activities which are supporting MPAI, which are performed by an entity which is called an MPAI store, and MPAI has among its mission the task of finding or authorizing, let's say, a suitable company to perform those functions. And finally, MPAI also appoints performance assessors who are in charge, as we've seen before, to evaluate performance of its standards. Right, so what is this MPAI store? This company that MPAI authorizes to perform some functions on its behalf. So the MPAI store basically is a separate company, but which supports MPAI, so the activities of MPAI, by managing a register of, let's say, certified implementers. So let's say if one wants to submit official implementations of standards or modules, submodules in a standard, one has to get registration with MPAI store and get an implementer ID, right? So, and this register is kept by the MPAI store. Then the MPAI store also establishes distribution agreements with implementers with the idea that all officially recognized modules should be distributed through the MPAI store. And it tests these kind of implementations that need to be distributed and are submitted by implementers in order to check that they are secure, that they are conformant with the AIF, and they are conformant with some technical specifics or some specific application specific standard. Or some accessory specification, which is another thing, which is possibly so can be written in addition to let's say the technical specification. And so if performance assessors evaluate implementations and give them some kind again of marks according to those 6 performance attributes, the store may receive and publish those notifications along. So when distributing them, just for the users to be aware of that, right? For instance, if there is an implementation which is particularly good on all those 6 points, the store might say, that's a particularly good implementation, right? And we trust it to be a good one. So some performance assessor has essentially certified that's a good one. And then finally, right, this could be also published, let's say, in a kind of comparative way, but always through a publicly described methodology, right, as dictated again by this ecosystem standard. Right, so there are specific labels to be given to implementations. So it will be level 1, or 2 or 3, depending on which tests have been passed. 3 is the best one, and 1 is the lowest one, right? Then again, so the MPAI store makes this kind of implementations that are certified and tested available for download. And also there could be some kind of user experience system where users can post their feedback about these implementations, right? So not only, let's say, performance assessors would post technical, so not only the store would publish the results of technical assessment performed by performance evaluators, but also you could have some, say, kind of reputational grading posted by users that store also makes available to everyone. And yeah, the MPAI store is a not-for-profit organization, and it only basically covers costs incurred by basically yeah, by just so whenever there are distribution and distribution costs, basically they can be recovered from licensing and other incomes that store has, but just to recover costs. So it's otherwise not for profit. Right, then, so we described MPAI store, then there are implementers. So implementers, again, are the ones who actually make the work, of course, of programming, of producing implementations of modules. So they have first to obtain, as said, an implementer ID from the store, from the MPAI store. Then they just write code or do something or wrap code produced by someone else. They submit implementations to the store, and they also can submit implementations to be evaluated for performance by performance assessors. Right. Performance assessors are another thing, another fourth class of actors. They are appointed by MPAI for a particular domain and performance category. And yeah, so they, as described before, they take implementations and run tests as specified by the standards on them to assess performance. And they can be implementers of other companies. They cannot self evaluate, of course, the performance of their implementations. And yeah, they can charge all the ecosystem for their services, and they maintain confidentialities that everyone is assured basically that there is no leak of important data, confidential data. So in a nutshell, that's it, right? So there are 5 entities. So the MPAI is the green one. The MPAI store is the orange one. Then there are implementers in blue, performance assessors in yellow, and of course, end users, which we didn't mention, but are part of the ecosystem. And this diagram shows how
Did we lose Paolo?
I think so, Leonardo.
hey,
Fortunately, Paolo, are you back?
yeah. So I've always been here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. So what did you lose?
Maybe if you start from the beginning, because this is a good summary.
Of this one. Yeah, okay, that's right. They missed this one. Okay, that's fine. Right. So I was saying that this basically summarizes the ecosystem quite nicely, and there are yeah, 5 actors in the ecosystem, right? So in green there is MPAI, of course. In orange, the store, in blue, the implementers, and in yellow, performance assessors, and of course, in purple, the end users, which also are, who also are part of the ecosystem, although we didn't explicitly mention them before, right? And yeah, so there are all these arrows specifying exactly what what every actor does and how information circulates. But so we're not gonna gonna discuss them, but they are on this diagram for reference, right? So one can just look at this nice scheme to get the idea. And yeah, that's basically all. It was a bit quick, but I think that summarizes what GME contains. And yeah, we look forward to working with you. And you can always, of course, join. You're very welcome to join. And yeah, we hope to see you again and more in the future. Thank you. If there are questions, I would like to be happy to take them.